Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, March 13th, 2017. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. This year marks 10 years since the introduction and implementation of the value-added tax VAT here in SVG. And come May 1st, 2017, Vincentians can expect to see an increase in the VAT tax rate. According to Controller of the Inland Revenue Department, Kelvin Pompey, persons would experience a 1% increase in the general VAT rate from 15 to 16%, with businesses within the hospitality and tourism sector also seeing an increase from a 10% to an 11% VAT rate. Pompey said there will also be an increase in the VAT registration threshold from $120,000 to $300,000.
Increase in the threshold has become necessary because we have discovered that, we do have quite a lot of taxpayers, VAT registrants in the system who really do not belong in because of their yield and their turnover. And so it makes sense to take these persons out and concentrate their efforts and the resources on the larger taxpayers. And so during the rest of this month and into April, we'll be educating our taxpayers concerning the changes to the VAT legislation. We have a special implementation team in place that would be visiting taxpayers and letting them know about how they go about making these changes.
The Inland Revenue Controller advised all businesses that they should begin to make the necessary changes to their systems to ensure that they are in compliance with the incoming taxation measures.
To encourage businesses that you should be looking at your systems, your cash registers and such, to ensure that the change from the 15 to the 16% is done as quickly as possible, because you'd want time to it to be tested as such. In relation to the increase in the threshold from 120,000 to 300,000, this really applies to new registrants. However, on an ongoing basis over the next several months, the department will be looking at those persons who have already been registered but who are grossing, way below the $300,000, and we would be approaching these businesses and informing them on a case-by-case basis as to whether or not they would stay in or be removed from the VAT system.
Outlining that the department remains committed to lending support to all taxpayers and how they can do their part to comply, Pompey expressed his hopes that all taxpayers will make it their business to adhere to all tax legislations.
Systems and procedures. We now have an in-house counsel, a lawyer, working in-house with the department, and we also have external counsel who are working along with us. And so we are very much in a position at this point where we can take the necessary action all through to the courts to effect compliance where necessary. But I am confident that, as has been the case, that those persons who owe taxes and persons who have not been filing, persons who have not been paying their property taxes, and employers who have been deducting the PAYE and not paying it in, I'm confident that these persons who are non-compliant and who are listening and hearing would take the necessary action and proactively, do what is right to comply with the tax legislation, because the department, I think, would have no choice but to effect certain provisions of the Income Tax Act if the level of non-compliance continues.
Pointing out that there needs to be a more holistic approach in linking policies and programs across all sectors in regards to the national budget, trade economist Koos Vanlo is of the opinion that without such linkage, it can affect the country's developmental thrust. Making reference to SVG's agriculture sector, Vanlo, who was a panelist at a recently held town hall meeting hosted by the SVG Teachers Union and the Public Service Union, which examined the 2017 national budget, noted that a number of things were not clearly represented in the budget as it relates to food security and sustainability. He also outlined that there were no measures mentioned about raising agricultural production to substitute for the increase in food imports.
this represents a weakness in that many of the international agencies, including FAO, pay special attention to food security. And we're not seeing measures here in terms of policies and programs which would put or enhance our food security. Agricultural exports are down. The agricultural sector, it would seem, there are no policies set out clearly as to how the production and marketing of agricultural produce would be carried out, and where the government needs to put various institutions and structures in place to facilitate this.
Vanlo also noted that since the fall of the banana industry, there has been a virtual collapse of the agricultural sector, which has seen persons moving towards urban areas to seek employment for lower wages.
What has been created in that regard is a group to whom we can refer to, an expanding group that we can refer to as the working poor. Which means these people have been removed from their area of subsistence and they have now moved into the cities. They have to work for extremely low wages, and these wages within an urban environment obviously cannot provide them with an adequate means of existence. We notice, for example, in the government social provision, and I don't know, maybe these are connected, where we have an increase in the number of persons on public assistance. I don't know if this public assistance is to supplement in some cases.
The trade economist further outlined that there is still room for improvement in the agriculture sector as a number of the country's resources has not been tapped into.
We still have favorable fertile soils, favorable climate. We have extensive water resources, fresh and seawater resources, and these remain fairly underdeveloped and are not making the kind of contribution to the economy, simply because the policies have not been identified, and out of those, the programs. So that is a neglected sector that has to be addressed if we are going to get economic prosperity.
More incentives must be given to local tourism stakeholders in order to improve their capacity. That's the view of environmentalist Malon Mills as she spoke on Sunday's edition of Easy Tea program, discussing various issues relating to tourism development and the natural environment. Mills called for more incentives to be given to local stakeholders, particularly to those in the Villa area, in order to revitalize the area as a tourism attraction and the implementation of strategies to aid in protecting the natural environment.
We have hotels in that area that were once very popular, very successful hotels. That area needs to be revitalized. Now the government has plans to start some sort of marine management area there. I'm hearing them talking about user fees and this and that and the other. You cannot charge people user fees to watch a dead reef, because the reef is not there. There's nothing there to pay to look at anymore. What we need to do in that area is that we need to change some of what we were doing that caused the environment to go in the way that it went. We need to give those operators incentives to develop their properties. We need to give the same kind of incentives that you're giving to foreign investors, give it to local investors as well. We have a huge stock of property in St. Vincent that's lying idle at present.
The environmentalists added that foreign investors have received privileges and incentives above and beyond that of local investors, and noted that even with such incentives, foreign investors have not aided in the development of agriculture or made a significant impact in the area of employment as one would have expected.
All of those years, is that foreign investors would come in, and the privileges, the rights and privileges that they would get over and above local operators is quite remarkable. Even in here, they have rights to free tax, they're duty free. Even the tomatoes and the carrots that they import, right, which is actually against the grain of the development of our own agricultural industry, they can just bring it in freely. They talk about employing local people. When you look at the employment in a lot of these resorts, it's not the local people are being employed in the most menial jobs. If you don't have the right pigmentation, if you don't look beautiful, or you're a little bit too old, or you might have a handicap, well, forget it. You're not getting a job there.
Mills continued by stating that the issue of foreign investment is a misleading one, as in her opinion, politicians and foreign investors are the only ones who benefit from it, whilst the natural environment continues to suffer damage.
This whole notion of tourism development and the importance of foreign direct investment is very misleading. It's being sold to people like a cargo cult. It's going to, transform society. But what it's really doing is that it's sinking us back into poverty, because at the end of the day, it is destroying the natural environment that we are able to live by. If you can't get a job tomorrow, at least you could go fishing, right? And you could live with some level of dignity. But when you mash up the natural environment, you don't have that in your favor. When it comes to the foreign direct investment, the only people that is benefiting really are the politicians and the foreign direct investors. We get some jobs short term. When the development is finished, well, you better be prepared just to, do the menial task.
If you want to be a leader, you must be a reader. That's the encouragement given to students of the Stubbs Government School by Senior Education Officer with responsibility for early childhood education, Gwyneth Cambridge, as the school began its week of activities in commemoration of Literacy Week. Under the theme, Today a Reader, Tomorrow a Leader. The activities began with a march and rally and will continue on Wednesday with the school's spelling bee competition. On Thursday, the school will host its Games Day and Poetry Afternoon, with activities concluding on Friday with Character Day, where children and teachers alike are expected to dress as storybook characters. Cambridge congratulated the school and the literacy department for taking the initiative to celebrate the week and encouraged the students to become readers in order to develop the qualities necessary to become leaders.
You have to be able as a leader to show others that you have the quality to lead. Good. Now, what did you hear just now? What is making that noise? The ambulance. What letter does ambulance begin with? Letter A. So you are able to read and identify. A good leader must be able to read quality books. Now, you can't just read one set of book all the time. So I noticed that Miss has in front of here a variety of books. You can't want to read ABC book all the time, because after a while you can only recognize ABC words. So you have to use a variety of books.
Meanwhile, head teacher of the Stubbs Government School, Andrew John, said reading is the most important and most important and outstanding accomplishment in the life of a child, and that the school is committed to aid in every child's academic development. John thanked all the stakeholders who partnered with the school in order to provide the students with the opportunity to learn.
It is an acknowledgement of our vision that every child must be able to read when he or she leaves this institution. We recognize that learning to read is the most important and outstanding achievement in the life of a child. And so we are driven to help each child achieve this goal. So far, we are partnering with several stakeholders to ensure that we provide the necessary tools to our pupils. Our library, which I don't want to boast, but I believe is one of the best in the island, in the primary schools. It has just been equipped with oven. Thank you very much. It has just been equipped with over 1,000 new and exciting books just this school year alone.
Cognizant of the fact that all schools should provide an environment which enables students to gain knowledge that will fully prepare them for all aspects of life, the Calder Government School last Friday, March 10th, hosted a health symposium to build awareness on the reduction of salt in students' diets. The symposium, which was held as part of the Grade 6 Students Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment Project, saw a number of low-sodium foods on display, as well as presentations from the Grade 6 students and officials of the Ministry of Health. Nikita Tony has more in this report.
The 2017 Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment Project, the Grade 6 students of the Calder Government School last Friday, March 10th, hosted their 2017 Health Symposium, focusing on the topic investigating the sodium content of snacks used by the students of the Calder Government School. Highlighting the hard work of the students, principal of the school, Peter Pompey, noted that the chosen topic and its findings will go a long way in ensuring that healthier eating habits are adopted not only at the school, but throughout the community.
You know, the dangers of high salty or high sodium snacks and encouraging healthy snacks. So we decided that, you know, we're going to take the challenge of checking on, you know, and not just to come and get the information, but we're going to put them into practice. Okay?
Representative of the Ministry of Education, Vicky Lindro, pointed out that with the rising levels of diabetes cases in SVG, especially among young individuals, activities such as the Health Symposium is critical in promoting better nutrition among students.
Education and learning and proper physical and emotional growth depends heavily on good nutrition. Parents, guardians, and teachers, I wish to remind you that you are responsible for nurturing the men and women of tomorrow. Therefore, it is important that you remove the unhealthy foods like the fried foods, processed and packaged foods from your children's diet and replace them with healthy foods such as the fruits, vegetables.
Commending the staff and the students for their great and timely initiative, Non-Communicable Diseases NCD's coordinator within the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Beverly Neptune, outlined the dangers of a high sodium intake in children. She further advocated for the continued support of educational institutions in getting the word out about salt reduction in diets, especially those of students.
What I would like to see happening in terms of this project is for a more in-depth analysis of the data collected so that the necessary recommendations can be made to the relevant authorities within the Ministry of Education, within the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, within the Ministry of Agriculture, and other stakeholders to effect change in behavior from a policy perspective.
The event featured presentations from the Grade 6 students on an overview of findings on the level of sodium intake at the school and measures used to reduce that intake. The gathering was also enlightened by presentations from nutritionists within the Ministry of Health on healthier eating habits and ways to reduce salt in foods consumed. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
A packed program of activities is planned for tomorrow, March 14th, to commemorate National Heroes Day. The annual wreath-laying ceremony here at Dorchester Hill, starting at 8 a.m., will kick off the official activities. A number of uniform organizations are expected to attend the ceremony. The featured address will be delivered by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. Later in the day, cultural activities will be held in Fancy, Greg's, and other communities. The Fancy activities will be held under the theme, Keeping Our Cultural Heritage Alive and Clean, this Heroes Day 2017. This year's event will again be hosted by the Fancy Unity Farmers Cooperative in collaboration with the Fancy chapter of the North Windward Tourism Association. The festival is an all-day affair which will feature a rich cultural package and a wide array of traditional foods. In Greg's, that community is expected to be transformed into a heritage village, also with a packed cultural program to take place at the Greg's playing field. Police here are investigating the death of 53-year-old Malcolm Poling, a farmer and resident of Vermont, who was shot multiple times on Sunday night. According to reports, Poling was shot not too far away from his home and fell in the public road where he died. In Vermont today, there seem to be mixed reactions over his death. Nolisha Miller has more in this report.
Stained on the ground is the blood belonging to Malcolm Poling, who was ambushed, shot and killed on Sunday evening in Vermont. There are mixed reactions regarding Poling's death, as according to reports, his reputation was questionable. Usually one would say that a community is mourning the loss of a beloved member, but that does not seem to be the case of Malcolm Poling, who was shot at and killed in Vermont on Sunday night, March 12, 2017. According to reports, the incident occurred sometime after 9 p.m. It is alleged that Poling, who was recently released from prison, was ambushed, shot at multiple times after spending the night drinking at a nearby shop. While condemning crime and violence in SVG, Assistant Commissioner of Police Frankie Joseph stated that the atmosphere at Vermont on Sunday night, moments after the incident, spoke volumes, noting that persons were the opposite of being mournful.
Well, when we arrived there were a very large crowd. Literally the entire neighborhood, was out. Well, we had our cordon off tape so they couldn't get too close to the body. And the crowd was very silent until after the processing. They were more or less open.
Appealing to persons to cooperate with the police in their investigation, ACP Joseph said that the police are always working assiduously to rid the streets of illegal firearms.
Last year we had a record number of homicides, which is 40. And we are hoping that this year, with the strategies that we have in place, that we will have under 20 for this year. So we do not support if villagers are rejoicing that someone is being murdered, because at the same time what that do, that actually add to the tally of our homicides.
Poling's character and reputation was led by questionable tales, as he was regarded as somewhat of a menace in the community, with 32 convictions behind him. Some persons, including some of his own relatives, were blatantly outspoken as to the life he led, while others remained tight-lipped and somewhat fearful to express their views.
Poling is my father. You understand? I'm the firstborn child for Malcolm Poling. He was a bad man. I cannot say he was all good. There is no all good in no man or not. You understand? I feel sad that he died. You understand? I have 3 children and I won't like people to do my children them wrong. My father used to do wrong stuff. He used to do good stuff. You understand?
When you say wrong stuff, such as?
Just getting violent with people, you understand? Because he was strong, you understand? He come out of prison, he didn't cool himself. I know that he didn't cool himself. Man, he wasn't green. Man, he get away at the courtyard in Kingston. But then I ain't gonna say that is nice for you to be there. For you to be there, you understand? That is not good.
We was here playing some cards, my friends them. After we heard the news that my father dead, we didn't take it for joke, so we didn't move. What we do about come there until yes, my father got shot down the road. My sister we run go down on my daughter. And her children we run go down the road. When we go down the road, I will see our dad in the road dead. Really, I couldn't face the fact I seen him around there. Okay? It really touched me. People might be glad that my father's there today. Real people might be glad. I know plenty of people.
Why is that so?
Because they say he get away with a charge more than that. Several days they comment and to get released. So I believe in my heart. I plenty people commenting and say I'm seeing my Facebook. Plenty people commenting and say they're happy.
What's done by the ghetto? My brand shop. Place on Avenue. But Daddy P, Malcolm Paul and Daddy P, wherever I get me, I know, we shall get more.
Why? Why do you say that?
He disgraced the farmer village.
In what way?
Ignorant to beat her body. He no escape motor charge. And just come out of jail and beat her body.
I never find a fault today. And then I was surprised today when I heard about him.
If you have to destroy some person and you leave, you could go the same way.
He has done certain things in the village what is wrongfully.
Like what?
Well, breaking people's place and stuff like that. You know.
Is that all?
Well, that's all me know. That's all me can say. Otherwise, he live good.
And it will bring that about.
He threatened you before?
Oh, yeah. No one time. Not two times, but after he.
I never do me nothing, so me can't say well, you know.
Well, a lot of persons are rejoicing that he's dead. Why do you think that is the case?
Since he's a troublesome person, you have to expect anything.
I let me not feel sorry for me, no, but me not feel like I'm sorry for him. When the Bible say you live by his sword, you die by his sword.
Amongst a long list of criminal offences, Pauline was convicted of larceny and assault causing bodily harm. His death brings this country's homicide rate for the year to 3 thus far. Nolisha Miller, The Evening News.
The fire department of the SVG police force is investigating the cause of a fire which destroyed the upper floor of a 2-story dwelling house and all of its contents in the New Montrose area. The fire was reported around 8:45 this morning at the home of 60-year-old Stephen Games, which he shared with his elderly father. No one was injured in the fire. However, police say 2 vehicles which were parked in the garage of the upper floor were also destroyed.